Good morning, folks. So I have stories to tell and tales of woe. So my first story is called The Thing. The man was walking home on the road at night. It was obviously dark. He looked ahead, and on a bench under a streetlight, there was a girl bent over, covering her face, sobbing to herself, moaning and groaning and being sad. And he walked up and said, "What's wrong, girl? I mean, it can't be so bad. I'm sure you can deal with it." And he patted her on the back, and she looked up, still sobbing, and took her hands from her face, and her face was smooth like an egg. No eyes, no nose, no mouth, just smooth. Well, of course, the man shrieked and ran down the path, and he was running down, and he looked up, and there was a little like a hot dog stand up under a thing. It was kind of late for one, but there it was, and it was the only source of light because he had the light from his stand. So he ran to that because he was terrified. He could still hear it snuffling behind him in the darkness, whatever it was. And he ran to the man at the stand. And he said, "Oh my gosh, I just had this terrible experience." And the man said, "What happened?" And he said, there was this woman sitting on the bench and crying, and I went to talk to her, and I can't even tell you what she showed me. It was too terrifying, too awful." And the hot dog man said, "Did she show you something like this?" And he moved his face into the light, and it was smooth and sleek, just like an egg with no features. And at that point, the light of the stand went out, and the man was left alone in the dark with the thing. That's my first story.
He told that story to me and my brothers when we were little, and it was always really creepy to us.
Hope it worked for you guys.
The faceless thing.
The thing. So, got up one morning, went into the bathroom to shave. You may not think I shave because of this, but I do. I shave my cheeks, I shave my neck, I do a little trimming, So I shave my head sometimes. So I walked in, I look in the mirror, get the razor, start lathering it up, and one of the things about looking in the mirror, as you may know, is that you can't ever see yourself blink, because when you blink, you're not looking. So I'm looking in the mirror straight on, and it blinks, and I see it. I look back, and it doesn't do anything else false, but that was wrong. I couldn't shave, obviously. I just left the bathroom. Later on, at night, I said, maybe I can go in there now. I opened the door. It was dark in the bathroom, and I could see some glowing red eyes in the mirror. Or glowing red somethings. I don't know if they're eyes, two lights. So I just shut the door. The next day, I decided it was a bad dream. I get a lot of bad dreams. So I walked back in. I stood in front of the mirror, staring at it like this to see what's going on, and the mirror smiled. Something is seriously wrong. I walked straight out of the thing. I said, this has to stop. I picked up a baseball bat, walked back into the bathroom, shut the door, glass shattered. There was a blood-curdling scream. The next day, I went out to dinner with my family. As I was cutting up my steak, my sister looked at me oddly. "Since when have you been left-handed?" she asked. I just smiled. Okay. The third story is called The Coffin. The boy, as he walked home from grammar school, had to go past a mortuary. He didn't mind. It wasn't like it was scary. It was just a mortuary. He walked by every day. One day, he was held late because, he was bad. It was in the winter, so it was dark, and it's dark. He's walking by, and he looks over, and there's some stairs going down to the bottom part of the mortuary, and the back door is open to the basement. And he says, "Oh, cool! I could go inside the mortuary. Maybe I can see a dead body." He's 11, so that'd be cool, right? So he walks down the steps, and he walks into the basement, and he looks around. And he doesn't see a dead body. He just sees coffins. It's a coffin storage thing. He looks all around, and there's coffins, and it's kind of cool, but it's not really as exciting as expected. But as he stands there, suddenly there's a thump, and one of the coffins stands up, boom, and he looks at it, kind of startled, and then the coffin's door opens, bam, and it's completely empty. And he looks at it, and the coffin starts to slam its door, slam, then it starts to stump forward, thump, 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 walking towards him. And he thinks, that coffin looks like it needs someone to go inside, and it wants me. So he heads out of the mortuary, runs back up the stairs, gets to the street, and he stands there panting. Oh boy, that was so scary. Then he hears behind him, thump, 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 and he looks behind, the coffin's coming up the stairs. He goes, holy smokes! Down the street he goes, racing behind him, and behind him comes the coffin. Thump, 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 opening and closing the doors. Slam, 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 thump, 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 slam, slam, thump, 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 slam, slam. And as he keeps running, he starts getting tired. He's only an 11-year-old kid. Well, the coffin doesn't get tired. It's got no muscles or anything. It just keeps thump, 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 thump. So he's like desperate now. This coffin's going to catch him. He looks around. There's no one there. It's dark. Everyone's at home for dinner, you know. He's in the park. There's not even a house he can go to. He reaches into the coat of his windbreaker, and he finds some Hall's mint eucalyptus. That's all he's got. So he takes it and he throws it, and sure enough, it stops that coffin. Oh, Arthur doesn't like it, but I do.
The joke for COVID, right?
Okay, so now I'm going to tell you the things I did for Halloween. So I always loved Halloween as a kid. My favorite holiday still is my favorite holiday, even though I don't, go trick-or-treating. But I love Halloween, and we always had what we called a Spook Alley at my house. A Spook Alley is like a little haunted house I had at my house. Now, these days, they didn't have so many commercial ones. Yeah. People would do them in their house for free, so I would do it. So I would paint up things with monsters and do different things. So I'm going to tell you about 3 of the greatest Spook Alley events we ever had. Or actually, 2 of them. 2 of the greatest events. So one of them was kind of a prank we play. We take them through the halls of this house here you're seeing here, and they go down to the basement. We talk about all the horrible things that were going on and the terrible things. Then we had the storage area in the back of the basement, which was like concrete walls. There were spider webs in it, and it was creepy. In fact, the spider webs, we'd show the flashlight on the spider webs, and they go, "Oh, spider webs!" And then we'd look it down, and then we'd from the beams up above, we'd hung threads and made them a little bit damp so they hang straight. And of course, you couldn't see them in the dark. And just after we showed you the spider webs, you'd walk forward and these threads would hit your face, and we'd say, "Oh, where are the spider webs?" And then we show them. And of course, they thought they were walking through spider webs, and they go, "Ah, spider webs!" But it was just the strings. So they go into that back area, and then when they came out after seeing this stuff, we'd say, "Well, better count everyone in your party, make sure everyone's there." And they come out and they go, "Yeah." They'd roll their eyes, that's dumb, and they count and look, and one of them was missing. And they would say, "Hey, like Susan's not here." And we would say, "Oh, well, it happens." And we'd send them out the back way. And what we had done is just before they went into the last part in the basement, we would grab one of the people in the back and pull them aside and say, "Hey, come with me." And we'd take them outside separately. And we'd give them extra candy to make up for not seeing the last part of the Spook Alley. And then they'd be waiting. So when the people came outside, they're like, "Where's Susan? Susan's gone. She's not here." When they went outside, then, Susan was there waiting for them with extra candy. So it was cool. But we had them going for a while there. So another time, we'd go through the Spook Alley, and my aunt, Mame, who's still alive, she's 89, she's still going strong, she had this really awesome witch outfit.
Wait, Aunt Mary?
Aunt Mary, yeah, with the long nose and the whole bit. And so, but when we took them in through the Spook Alley, there'd be a rocking chair rocking, but no one was in it, right? So they walked down, there'd be a rocking chair, it was rocking, and there was no one in it. And there was a blood-stained tree stump, and there was no one there. And we go, "Oh, here's the blood-stained tree stump where people's heads were cut off." And they'd go, "Yeah, sure," and roll their eyes. Then we go down and see the rock. "Oh, this is where the ghost of the witch was." There's the rocking chair rocking. We have a string, right? We're pulling the rocking chair back and forth, and they go, "Oh yeah, big deal, right?" And then they go on, and then the back of it, we go into the lab where we had a monster on a slab. This is my friend Bill Hamlin, who was kind of a big guy for his age. So he was big enough and brawny enough to kind of fake being a monster on a slab. So he would rise up and go, "Roar!" and be the monster. And then the tour guide, me, would go, "Oh, the monster's run back. And they would go along with it. No one's really scared of the monster, right? But they start running back. But then as they ran back to the place where the tree stump was, there's a guy there laying over it, and then the guy with the glowing axe was whack, and the head falls off. Okay, and they're like, "Wow!" But then when they ran past the place where the rocking chair was, Aunt Mary's in there with the makeup going, and she's there, and she reaches out to grab at him. And this, because they're running, their adrenaline's up a little bit. They just saw the head. It was really effective. Aunt Mary got a lot of mileage out of that. So that was a good Spook Alley.
if Instead of Petersen Games, you should have made Petersen Spook Alley.
Petersen's, yeah, sure. Okay, so I'm going now to talk about some scary stories, and I had rules for these scary stories. They ought to be fairly short so you can read them on Halloween. That's the first rule. Second rule is they all have to be free and available here on the internet. Well, here on the internet. You can get all of these as a PDF or a download on the internet for no money. No registration, they're just there, okay? So that's why they're all kind of older stories. Not that I don't think there's new good stories. It's why I don't have Ramsey Campbell, for example, whose stories I love, because Ramsey Campbell's stories aren't for free on the internet. So, more power to him, mind you, but they're not. So these are all free. You can get them on the internet, you can read them, and a lot of them are made for reading aloud, which is kind of good. So we're going to go to the first one. This is the only one of the 6 I have that was actually written by a woman, but that's not, it just happenstance, And so this is one of my favorite vampire stories, Luella Miller by Mary Wilkins Freeman. And it is a weird vampire. She doesn't suck anyone's blood. It's not clear she even knows she's a vampire, but she is. And it keeps getting, as the story goes on, you get more and more like, what's going on? This is weird. This is odd. And I highly recommend it. This is the most subtle of the stories that I am going to talk about. This is the only one that doesn't have like rivers of blood or something, This is nice, simple, straight, and well worth doing. Plus, Mary Wilkins Freeman is an awesome writer, so check her out. Next, only one of my stories is by Lovecraft, and this is it. The Picture in the House. It's a dark and stormy night. He goes to a house to shelter. There's an old man there, and it progresses from there. It has, I think one of Lovecraft's most effective stories. The implications it takes, like as a kid when I read it, it took me a while to figure out what was going on, but I did. And the interesting, I always assumed that it sounds like there's a painting on a wall or something, but there's not. The picture is a picture in a book that he opens up and sees the book, and it falls right over to that picture because the old man of the house really likes that book and wants to point to that picture. This is I like this picture. So The Picture in the House, nice short story, awesome implications and background stuff. It's very Lovecrafty, not in the sense of other dimensions or other worlds, just in the sense that this is a scary story.
That's not the one with the thing in the basement.
It is not the one with the thing in the basement.
What is that one called?
That is The Shunned House, which is also available online. This is even shorter. Yeah. Okay, so now we will go to one of my most favorite scary stories of all time. I love this.
Yes.
Count Magnus. Count Magnus, are you waking? Count Magnus, are you sleeping? By one of my favorite authors, and actually one of Lovecraft's favorite authors, M.R. James. Now M.R. James, one of the great things about his stories is they are specifically designed to be friendly to being read aloud. So if you look up this story online, I recommend you get your little kids together, maybe not the real little ones, and read it aloud, because it has some pretty great stuff in it, including some gruesome moments, such as when they say, Hans was a handsome man, but he was not handsome now, you understand, because all the flesh had been sucked off his face. So I really like this story when I read it. One of my favorites of Count Magnus.
Also, Whistle and I'll Come to You.
Oh, he's got a whole lot of stories. I have a video on M.R. James. Watch the stories. So now to another great story. This one, now The Damned Thing has not very much humor, though M.R. James can be humorous, but that one is pretty much gruesome. Count Magnus is straightforward. But this, by Ambrose Bierce, The Damned Thing, is very effective and has some funny parts. For example, the comment, a man may be in rags, yet be naked, describing a mangled corpse on a, So this is The Damned Thing. It's a story about something that can't be seen, an awful creature. It's kind of told obliquely, but in a really effective way. Not long, super good. I recommend this. I recommend all these 6 stories without reservation, but The Damned Thing. I think another reason I picked these stories is because in general they have super awesome titles that are creepy, and it's always good to tell, when you're telling people you're going to retell them a story, you're going to say, I'm going to tell you the story of The Damned Thing, or The Man with 1,000 Legs by Frank Belknap Long. Now, Frank Belknap Long has a lot of great stories. I mean, he to me is. They always talk about like the great, like Lovecraft was great, and Clark Ashton Smith was great, and Robert E. Howard was great, and they were. But Frank Belknap Long was kind of up there with them, maybe not quite as consistent, but he wrote a lot, and he was one of Lovecraft's very best friends, which is to his credit, because Lovecraft seems like a hard guy to be friends with. But this, The Man with 1,000 Legs, it is not symbolic. There totally is a guy with 1,000 limbs in it, and you hear things like, "It is stronger. They'll see me yet. They'll never kill me." And it's like it's a crazy mad scientist story that is effective and terrifying, I think, and a lot of fun to read.
It's a Grampula.
We call him Grampula, yeah.
But he's also Sandy's dad.
He is also my dad. So you're seeing three firstborn. Well, actually, he's not firstborn, but you're seeing three.
Firstborn son, 3 generations.
Yeah. So I'm the firstborn. This guy's the first. He's not my firstborn kid, but my firstborn son.
Yes.
And there's the Gramps.
Although we call him Grampula, he's also the Star Commander of the 7th Galactic Fleet.
That's how he introduced himself on the phone.
Yes.
So, Man with 1,000 Legs, and for my final story, The Willows by Algernon Blackwood, and I'm
Rob Atkins. Hey, Rob.
Whoa. So this story I'm specifically recommending because this is Lovecraft's favorite horror story. And it is subtle, well done. You see few overt things, and it just keeps getting weirder and weirder. So The Willows by Algernon Blackwood, who wrote a lot of stories. He's famed as a great horror storyteller, but really I think he has a hit rate of about 15-20% for me that are strong. Lovecraft is like 75-80%, but the ones where he does hit, he hits home runs. The Willows, the Wendigo, they're amazing. And so The Willows. I can't tell you much more about it. It's not like I can't tell you. It's not because I'm worried about spoiling it, because I won't. But it's just like so evocative. I can't make it. So there's my things. So Dave Villa says I could have designed some incredible thematic escape room experiences that would. We didn't have escape rooms when I was 16. We only had what I had. The things I was doing. So
go to the top of your own comments. We haven't seen any of these comments.
I'm doing my dissertation. The guy's asking to meet with me. Okay. Contact support of Petersen Games. Greetings from Chile. Eager to buy the Cthulhu Wars base. Great, but I'm not really here to chill. And Gary Lyon. Good seeing you too. Yes, Diego Quiroz. I can go inside the mortuary. It does not end well.
Well, that one's just a joke.
No, it's a good scary story. Yeah, it's how I end my story, my horror stories.
You should tell Madeline's scariest ghost story.
Okay, so I have a granddaughter who is now 10.
10-year-old.
But in fact, I played a role-playing Call of Cthulhu game with her just 2 days ago.
Yeah, 2 days ago.
2 days ago, that was titled Blood of Ghastly Horror. She's 10, so I didn't want to have soul-sucking tentacles.
It had zombies,
but it had
mechanical brains.
It had zombies with mechanical brains, and it ended with a big fire underground in the sewer with the lab burning and diesel oil bursting the fire. And 2 of the zombies fighting each other as she was being dragged out of the fire.
She made a private eye, and she made lots of good decisions. It was really her first time playing Call of Cthulhu, so she did well.
I didn't. It was very rules light. I had to roll a single d6 to see if she succeeded or failed. Most of it was she was trying to figure out and she had pretty simple clues to figure out, but she was very happy when she figured them out. And if any of you recognize the name Blood of Ghastly Horror, hey Jeff, how you doing? So Jeff Okamoto here, who says Happy Halloween. He was in my campaign for 6 years back in California.
Tell Madeline's scary story, ghost story.
Okay, Madeline's scary story. Anyway, I will want to say that Blood of Ghastly Horror, yes, it is also the title of an Al Adamson movie, and the story,
He's
scenario.
Not a good director.
He's not a good director, but the story is based somewhat on his movie.
Terrible movie.
Because this is part of my theory is that you can make a good horror story out of any movie scene or book scene, no matter how terrible, and that's my rule. I'll probably do a video someday about that.
Well, no, you can't. How could you make a good story out of a Bruno Mattei movie?
Well, it's easy. Bruno Mattei steals all the scenes from other movies. Just use one of them.
So tell Madeline's story.
Okay, so Madeline was 1.5 years old, or 2 years old, or 3 years old. And so she said, I'm going to tell a scary story. She likes scary things, kind of. I mean, she's 10, so like the creature from the Black Lagoon was too intense for her. But she.
But we just showed her Bride of Frankenstein.
And she loved that. It was, some parts were a little scary, you understand. But she was able to handle it. Anyway, so here's her scary story. And this is, I like this scary story a lot because it cuts right to the nubbin of what you want in a scary story. So here's her story in its entirety when she was 3. In a dark, dark room, there was a ghost. And there it is. Isn't that what all our stories boil down to anyway?
Dark. I think it's in a dark, dark house. There was a ghost.
Oh, maybe it is. Maybe it was.
That was the entire story.
That was the whole story. That was the story first to last.
Little 2-year-olds.
So there was her story. And my mirror story wasn't too subtle, was it?
I liked it.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
yeah. In other words,
Petersen escape rooms.
In other words,
I think my efforts, Luke. I think my money is better spent now instead of making spook alleys in putting together games and such.
Yeah.
But I want to mention this scarf. Check it out. See, this scarf was made by I didn't pick it out. My daughter-in-law made it for me. His gorgeous wife, Madeline's mother. So, and it's like
Debbie got that.
Debbie made this for me.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean,
didn't even know my wife.
I don't know where she got the fabric, the octopus fabric, but she did. So it is my octopus scarf that I wear in the winter when it's cold, which it is here in Utah. Texas.
When did she make that for you? A long time ago?
3 or 4 years ago, I guess. Yeah. So I got this awesome scarf. So let's see. Do I have anything else for them? Oh, yes. One final note for everyone. Silver Shamrock.